After the sun has gone down over the Nile, an ancient city of stone comes awake in colored light. Out of the darkness rise pylons the size of cliffs, a forest of towering columns and obelisks pointing at the stars, all of it washed in slow tides of amber and deep blue, while unseen voices tell the story of gods and kings. This is the largest religious complex the ancient world ever built, and by night it becomes something between a ruin and a dream. Welcome to Karnak by night. We are on the east bank of the Nile at Luxor, in southern Egypt, on the ground the ancients knew as Thebes. For centuries, this was the great religious capital of Egypt, and Karnak was its beating heart, a sprawling precinct of temples raised above the river to the greatest of the gods. Across the water lay the realm of the dead in the western hills, but here on the eastern shore, where the sun was born each morning, stood the house of the living God, and it is here that the night now gathers around the ancient stones. By day, this place is vast beyond easy telling, but by night its size becomes something you feel rather than measure. Floodlights pick out one great structure and then another, and the eye is led deeper and deeper into a precinct that covers acres of ground. Karnak is not a single temple but many, grown together over the ages into the largest religious complex of the ancient world. In the dark, with the far edges lost to shadow, it feels less like a building and more like a stone city waiting to be woken. Beyond the temple walls, the Nile moves quietly through the night, the same dark river that made all of this possible. Ancient Thebes rose along these banks because the river gave it water, harvest, and a road to the whole of Egypt, and its wealth flowed back into the temples as offering and monument. On the far shore, the western hills hide the tombs of the pharaohs, so that Karnak on the eastern bank and the valleys of the dead across the water form two halves of one sacred world, joined by the ribbon of the river between them. What draws us here after dark is one of the oldest evening spectacles in Egypt. As night falls, the ruins are lit in slow waves of colored light, and a narrated story rolls across the stones, voices of gods and pharaohs speaking out of the dark to lead us through the ages. The illumination moves through the temple in sequence, from the outer gates inward, so that structure after structure emerges glowing from the blackness and then fades again. Standing among the columns, you do not so much look at the history as feel it rise around you. At the center of it all stands a single god. Karnak was raised above all to Amun, whose very name means the Hidden One, joined with the sun to become Amun-Ra, king of the gods. Beside him were honored his companion Mut and their son Khonsu, the sacred family of Thebes. For the ancient Egyptians, this was the dwelling place of the god on earth, tended in darkness by priests within the deepest sanctuary. It is fitting that we meet him now by night, a hidden god at the heart of a temple half swallowed in shadow. No single ruler built Karnak. Over roughly 2,000 years, one pharaoh after another added to it, each raising new halls, gateways, and shrines to outdo those who came before. Kings and queens whose reigns were separated by centuries all left their mark in this same precinct, so that walls raised in one age lean against columns carved in another. What we pass before in the floodlights is not one vision but many, a stone record of dynasty after dynasty, each ruler seeking to be remembered in the house of the god forever. The way into Karnak passes through its pylons, the massive gateway walls that rise like sheer cliffs of stone. Lit from below in the dark, their great sloping faces fill the sky, and the gaps between them open like doorways into deeper night. Beyond the first of them lies a broad forecourt, ringed by shadowed colonnades, where the light gathers before leading us on. To stand small at the foot of these walls, with the carved stone glowing far above, is to understand how the temple was meant to overwhelm anyone who approached the god. Guarding the approach stand rows of sphinxes with the bodies of lions and the heads of rams, the ram being the sacred animal of Amun. In the show, they are often the first to be touched by light, a glowing avenue leading the eye toward the temple gates. One behind another they crouch in the dark, each sheltering a small figure of a king between its paws, a stone honor guard that has kept its watch for thousands of years. Passing between their ranks by night, you feel less like a visitor and more like a guest being led inward to the god. Then comes the heart of Karnak, and the moment the whole night has been building toward. The great Hypostyle Hall is a forest of 134 gigantic columns, so vast and so closely set that they blot out the sky. As the colored light climbs their sides, the carvings and painted signs flare out of the darkness, and the tops of the columns spread overhead like the crowns of stone trees. To move among them by night, lit in shifting reds and golds and blues, is to feel dwarfed by a hall built not for human beings but for a god. Rising above even the great hall stand the obelisks, tall needles of granite, each cut from a single stone and raised toward the heavens. By day they are pale and distant, but at night, caught in the floodlights against a black sky, they seem to burn with their own cold fire. Their sides are covered in carved signs proclaiming the glory of the kings who raised them and the god they served. Pointing straight up into the dark, they draw the eye from the crowded stone below toward the stars turning slowly overhead. Near the temple lies a wide, still sacred lake, and it is here that the night reaches its close. Priests once drew its waters for their rites of purity, and now, in the dark, the illuminated temple stands mirrored on its calm surface. Floodlit walls and columns hang doubled in the black water, so that the whole precinct seems to glow both above and below. Seated at the edge of the lake as the final act unfolds, watching the reflections tremble and still, you feel the long day of the ancient world settle gently into its evening. Through it all run the voices, the narrated tale that gives the light its meaning. Out of the dark come the words of gods and pharaohs, speaking as if from across the centuries of the temple they built and the deeds they wished remembered. The show tells of the rise of Thebes, the power of Amun, and the kings who ruled in his name, so that the illuminated stones seem to be speaking their own history. For an hour, the ruins are not silent relics, but a chorus of the ancient dead, telling their story to the living gathered in the night. There is a strange intimacy to seeing Karnak this way. In daylight, the crowds and the heat can hold the past at arm's length, but in the dark, with only the lit stone before us, the centuries seem to fall away. Every carved figure and line of signs stands out sharp in the raking light, shadows deepening the cut of each ancient hand. Passing slowly beneath these walls by night, alone with the glowing stone, you feel almost face to face with the people who raised it, closer to the ancients than the daytime ever allows. When the lights finally dim and the voices fall silent, Karnak returns to the dark it has known for thousands of nights. Tomorrow the sun will rise over the eastern desert and pour into the same halls, and the temple will belong to the daylight again. But something of this evening lingers, the memory of the great stones burning against the black sky. For all its long ages, Karnak has stood through both, the blaze of the Egyptian day and the deep quiet of the night, enduring while empires rose and fell around it. The house of a hidden god, a forest of glowing columns, obelisks against the stars, and a sacred lake holding the temple in its dark mirror. Thank you for watching. Follow for more interesting people, places, and things we cover on the channel.